Have you ever wondered what it's like to live on one of the most isolated places on Earth? Have you ever pondered the mystery of the indigenous tribe that calls this island home? Have you ever heard of Sentinel Island? If so, then you are in for a treat. Because today we are going to explore the secrets of Sentinel Island and discover the truth behind one of the world's most enigmatic and fascinating places. So buckle up because we are about to embark on a journey to a place unlike any other. But before that, if you haven't subscribed this channel, please consider clicking the subscribe button so that you never miss any update from Geopolitics world. Without any further ado, let's get started. Once upon a time, on a tiny island in the Andaman and Nicobar Island, there lived a tribe of people known as the Sentinelese. They had lived in isolation for thousands of years, their way of life unchanged by the outside world. Their island was surrounded by treacherous coral reefs, making it nearly impossible for outsiders to approach by boat. But that didn't stop some adventurous people from trying. One day, a group of explorers decided to brave the waters and see if they could make contact with the Sentinelese people. They sailed towards the island, their hearts pounding with excitement and fear. As they got closer, they could see the dense jungle that covered the island, and occasional glimpses of the Sentinelese people moving through the trees. But as they got closer, something strange began to happen. The Sentinelese people started firing arrows and throwing spears at the explorers. The explorers quickly realized that they were not welcome on the island and decided to retreat. They returned to the mainland, shaken but determined to try again. Years went by and more people attempted to make contact with the Sentinelese people, but each time they were met with hostility and violence. The Indian government eventually established a strict exclusion zone around the island, making it illegal for anyone to approach within 5 nautical miles. Today, the Sentinelese people still live on their island, their culture and way of life are virtually unchanged by the outside world. They remain a mystery, a testament to the resilience and determination of a people who have managed to survive in isolation for thousands of years. But one question that is there on the mind of every people is that why is Sentinel Island a mystery? One reason I can find is its remote location. The island is located over 1,000 miles from mainland India and is surrounded by treacherous coral reefs, making it nearly impossible to approach by boat. This isolation has allowed the Sentinelese people to live in relative peace, free from the influences of modern society. Another reason for the mystery surrounding Sentinel Island is the hostility of the Sentinelese people towards outsiders. They have been known to attack anyone who attempts to approach the island, using spears and arrows to ward off intruders. This has made it difficult for outsiders to learn about the culture and way of life of the Sentinelese people. Despite this hostility, there have been a few attempts to make contact with the Sentinelese people over the years. In 1880, a British naval officer named Maurice Vidal Portman visited the island and captured 6 Sentinelese people, taking them back to the mainland for study. However, all 6 people died shortly after their capture, possibly due to exposure to diseases for which they had no immunity. In the years that followed, several other attempts were made to make contact with the Sentinelese people, but all were met with hostility and violence. In 2006, 2 fishermen were killed by the Sentinelese people when their boat drifted too close to the island. As a result of this incident, the Indian government established a strict exclusion zone around the island, making it illegal for anyone to approach within 5 nautical miles. This exclusion zone is still in place today, and the Sentinelese people remain isolated and largely unknown to the outside world. Despite the mystery surrounding Sentinel Island and the Sentinelese people, scientists have been able to learn a few things about their culture and way of life through observations from a distance. For example, it is known that the Sentinelese people practice a form of hunting and gathering, relying on the resources of island to sustain their way of life. They are also known for their elaborate tattoos and use of traditional weapons such as bows and arrows. In recent years, some people have advocated for making contact with the Sentinelese people, arguing that it could be beneficial for their health and well-being. However, others argued that it is important to respect the autonomy and way of life of the Sentinelese people and to let them continue living in isolation if that is what they choose. Despite the lack of direct contact with the Sentinelese people, there have been some indirect observations that have provided insight into their culture and way of life. For example, aerial surveys have shown that the island is densely forested and contains a variety of wildlife, including pigs, birds, and fish. This suggests that the Sentinelese rely on hunting and gathering for their sustenance. In addition, the Sentinelese have been observed building simple huts made of palm leaves, and they are known for their intricate tattoos, which are applied using sharpened sticks. The tattoos often depict animals and geometric patterns and are believed to have cultural and spiritual significance. Despite the relative lack of direct contact with the Sentinelese, the island has not been entirely untouched by outside influences. For example, debris from ships and plastics waste have been observed on the island's beaches, likely carried there by ocean currents. This highlights the ongoing challenge of protecting remote and isolated areas from the impact of human activity. In 2018, an American missionary named John Allen Chow was killed by the Sentinelese people when he attempted to make contact with them, highlighting the dangers of approaching the island without permission. The incident also raised questions about the ethics and of attempting to make contact with isolated people. While some argue that contact could be beneficial, others argue that it is important to respect the autonomy and way of life of these communities and to allow them to decide if and when they want to make contact with the outside world. In the case of Sentinelese people, it is clear that they have managed to survive and thrive in isolation for thousands of years, and that their way of life is intimately connected to the unique environment of Sentinel Island. As such, any attempt to make contact with them should proceed with caution and respect for their autonomy and cultural heritage. The mystery of Sentinel Island and the Sentinelese people remains largely unresolved, but it serves as a reminder of the importance of preserving cultural diversity and respecting the boundaries of isolated communities. It also highlights the ongoing challenges of protecting remote and isolated areas from the impact of human activity and the need for careful and considered management for these areas. Now we are moving to the most dangerous story of Sentinel Island and Sentinelese people. Well, in 1991, a ship called the Primrose ran aground on the reef surrounding Sentinel Island, leading to fears of a potential ecological disaster. However, the Sentinelese people were observed using their canoes to retrieve items from the ship, leading some to believe that they may have some knowledge of the outside world and modern technology. The Sentinelese people have been observed engaging in traditional activities such as fishing, hunting, and gathering, as well as creating and wearing ornate clothing made from natural materials. Their traditional homes are built from materials such as bamboo, leaves, and branches, and are typically elevated to protect them from flooding. While the Sentinelese people have managed to maintain their isolation and traditional way of life for thousands of years, they face numerous challenges in the modern world. These challenges include the potential of disease outbreaks, environmental degradation, and encroachment of them on their territory by outsiders. Well, at the end, despite the ongoing mystery and intrigue surrounding Sentinel Island and the Sentinelese people, their story is a powerful reminder of the resilience and determination of indigenous communities around the world. Their ability to survive in isolation for thousands of years is a testament of the importance of preserving cultural diversity and respecting the boundaries of others, and serves as a warning against the dangers of cultural homogenization and the loss of traditional knowledge and practices. Well, thank you guys for joining me on this journey to discover more about Sentinel Island and the Sentinelese people. Their story is definitely one of the resilience, determination, and the power of isolation to preserve cultures and ways of life. While the mystery surrounding the island and its inhabitants continues to intrigue us, it is important to remember the importance of respecting the autonomy and way of life of indigenous communities around the world. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a new upload. And if you have any suggestions for future videos, please leave them in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.